Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Waiver Wire Queen. Today, I want to talk to you about how I went 11-2 in a fantasy football redraft league. And then I'll also let you know, did I end up winning the championship? Hit that like button if you want to see more videos, Waiver Wire Queen, and you're looking to develop draft strategies before the draft, and you're looking for sleepers and starting sits advice throughout the fantasy football season. All right, y'all. So let's get right into it. So normally when I draft, my strategy has always been to draft a running back first. Okay. It's always been my strategy. I don't know why. I love running backs. It's just, it seems like it's the thing to do. So going into the 2020 season, I decided to try something different in one of my leagues, and I want to share that with you. And maybe this will help you at least have a solid season and dominate, because I dominated during the regular season. But later on, I'll let you know if I ended up winning the league. Okay, so in this draft, I had the last pick. So obviously, we're doing a snake draft. And I had the last pick and then the first pick in the second round. So let me get ready to share with you guys my picks. And don't judge me on these picks, guys, because it's hard out here in the fantasy world. If it's not, whatever's not working for you, you may want to switch up. You may be the type to say, well, this is what I normally do, and I want to stick to it. Sometimes you got to switch things up to see if you'll get better results. Not saying that what I've been doing hasn't worked, but I wanted to see if something different would allow me to dominate. All right, y'all. So this is what I did with my first few picks in this draft. So I went into this draft and I said, I'm going to try something different. I have the last pick, which I actually like having the last pick, because then I can pick back to back and address what I really want to do. When I normally have the last pick, I end up going running back, wide receiver, or wide receiver, running back. Doesn't matter which order I went, because I had the last pick and then the pick right after that. So this draft, with the first pick, I ended up with my first pick in the first round, which was pick 12. I ended up drafting Deshaun Watson. As you know how that turned out, he had his best season statistically in fantasy football and just in NFL period. So right after that, I ended up drafting Devontae Adams. This is a 12-team league, and drafting Adams and Watson in a season where both of them statistically had their best output, that really worked out for me. So then finally it came back to me, and you guys know, and you guessed it, I was sitting there stressing like, oh my God, what running back am I going to get? Because normally I get a running back. However, I tried a different strategy. I didn't go with my norm, and I tried something different. So then it came back around to me, and Chris Carson was there, and I was looking at my draft board, and then I'm looking in the queue, and I'm looking to see like, oh my God, well, if Chris Carson makes it, I know he's going to have a solid season. I can draft him. So lo and behold, draft got back around to me, and Chris Carson was there. So I said, oh, okay, well, let's take Chris Carson. I drafted Chris Carson, and mind you, this is a Yahoo league, guys. So I drafted Chris Carson, which he had a solid season. Not as good as what he has been doing the last few seasons. He had some injuries, and then he was sharing a load with Carlos Hyde. Nonetheless, it still was a solid pick for third round, pick 36, where running backs just tend to be gone. And this is a league where you have to start two running backs. So right after that, I ended up drafting Amari Cooper, who was really solid for the season. So then I waited, had a pick 60. I had Jordan. I know you guys are gonna say, girl, you drafted Jordan Howard. Yeah, I drafted Jordan Howard in the fifth round at pick 60. I actually had him on my board. And this is prior to anyone knowing anything about Myles Gaskin. Everybody was assuming that, oh, he's with uh, Miami now, and who's going to be their starting running back, because Myles Gaskin wasn't in the picture at the time, especially during the draft. Most people got him on waivers. Yeah, so I drafted Jordan Howard, and then I went with DJ Chalk. Obviously, those two picks did not pan out at all. I expected so much more out of Chark. Just injuries and just didn't have a good season statistically. And we all know what happened with Jordan Howard. Okay, so it got back around to me in round 7 at pick 84. I drafted Will Fuller, which turned out to be a really good pick because he came in there and he had a really good season. And guess what, guys? He wasn't hurt most of that season. He had one game, wasn't sure if he was going to play. He had some hamstring issues. He ended up playing, went out a little, came back, still was solid. He had probably had his best statistical season as well because he was in my eyes the number one guy. And so I'm like, well, let me draft Fuller and I'll have him to pair up with Watson. Did that work? Hell yeah, y'all, it worked. It worked out really well for me. So then right after that, I ended up drafting Matt Breida, which was crazy because as you know, he rarely was on the field, especially once Myles Gaskin got in there and he took the job and he said, you know what? This is my job, y'all. This is my job. So now you see where I you so far you see where I went wrong. And yes, I went wrong with a few of those picks because as you can see, Howard, Chalk, and Breida didn't have good seasons, and I actually had like some high expectations for both running backs because at the time, obviously, Gaskin wasn't the guy. He showed up and showed out and took the job, gave him the job, and he still has a job, which turned out to be great for him. Kudos to him. And so let me get ready. Let me get back in it and tell you what I did in round 9. Here I am sitting here, queen of drafting running backs. I'm like, okay, well, I need to add more running backs to my squad. So in the 9th round, I ended up picking David Montgomery, which in my opinion was a steal because why is David Montgomery still available in the 9th round? So I got him in the 9th round at 108. He had a hell of a season, very solid. He did a great job. The young man did a great job. He did a great job. So I drafted him, and then I came back around and I said, well, I need to go and get a backup quarterback. At the time, best available was Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. And then also, you got to realize I'm a Giants fan. So I was like, well, I expect him to play well. And then I was like, it was only going to be for one game. And Watson, I'm high on him. And that Watson pick paid off. So then got back around to me in round 11 at pick number 132. So I didn't prioritize tight end. So I said, I haven't prioritized tight end. All of the top tight ends are gone. So I ended up drafting Blake Jarwin, who I was so high on coming into the season. And I'm also high on him this year, guys. So take that sleeper tip right there for you for the 2021 season. You don't have to draft him high. Good value, if nothing else, to come in off your bench, or if you want to prioritize any other position first and then pick him up. All right. And then obviously I drafted Hutchinson, which turned out to be a solid pick, though inconsistent at times, still was a solid pick. Then I come back around to round 13 and I'm like, oh, I need to take a defense because they're starting to snatch up all the defense. So in round 13, at pick 156, I drafted the Saints defense. And then I jumped right back around and I drafted Justin Jefferson. And I'll tell you more later about that. I have no clue what I was thinking with Justin Jefferson. And then we came back around to round 15 and I drafted Zane Gonzalez at pick 180. So yes, that ended up being my my team to start the season. I'll tell you at some point, I don't know if it was early on, and this is one thing I will stress to anyone who's playing fantasy football, and I've learned this the hard way: patience, patience, patience. Just because your studs are not performing week 1, week 2, week 3, if it's a stud, especially someone like obviously what Justin Jefferson turned out to be, you don't drop him. At some point, I lost my mind. I went fantasy football blank and I dropped Jefferson early on in the season. I don't know what was going on there. I started having a few injury issues. So I have honestly no excuse. I don't know why I did it. I'm just glad this wasn't a dynasty league because that would have been horrible if I dropped him in a dynasty league, y'all. But nonetheless, let me show you the end result of my roster at the end of the season. This that draft secured me 11-2 record, and some of the reasons were obviously Watson and Will Fuller. Those two really had good seasons. David Montgomery was balling out, and then obviously Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper. That duo at wide receiver killed it for me throughout the season. It worked. The drafting format for me worked really well, and I was pleased with it. All right, y'all, but let me tell y'all. So let's show you what my final roster looked like, and I'll tell you what happened at the end of the season. All right, so this is what my final roster ended up looking like. Let me share that screen with you guys. If you enjoying this video and if you love fantasy football, hit that like button for one time for the waiver wire queen. So this is what my team looked like at the end of the season. I had Watson, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Chris Carson. I ended up with Swift. I kept Hutchinson. I had David Montgomery, who throughout the season was balling out for me. At some point, I was able to pick up Antonio Brown and McKissick. I ended up with Wayne Goldman. So, and if you look at some of those players, they play really well as well. As you know, Wayne Goldman ended up being the starting running back for the remainder of the season for the Giants. He played really well. That helped. McKissick, that helped. And let me tell y'all the rest of my team. Okay, so I had Russell Gage at the end of the season. Myles Gaskin, I was able to pick him up. I got off the Howard Breida tip quickly, and I was also able to pick up Hunter Henry. I got rid of Zane Gonzalez at one point, and I used Cole from the Atlanta Falcons, which most part he played really well. I kept the Saints defense for the entire season, and I had Arizona come in there 1 week. Now, I'll tell you this. I had a bye week because obviously I won. I had the best record in the league, 11-2. Bye week, come into my first game in the playoffs, and everybody stinks it up except Watson had a solid game. Adams and Cooper combined for about maybe, I can't remember the exact amount, but maybe 15 or 20 fantasy points combined. And waiver wire queen did not win. I was looking to dominate these guys because I was dominating them all the season. They were talking trash to me. I made sure I was quiet. Shout out to all the Bills Mafia fans, because most of y'all in the league, Bills Mafia people, the league is the league commissioner is janky. He's a Packer fan, but nonetheless, that's one of my favorite leagues. I have to be in that league every year because it's just cool. Love the talking of the trash. And then anytime I'm looking to cut a league because I'm cutting back, I always say, I got to keep this league because it's fun. It's janky and it's fun and it's exciting. It's good to be in leagues that are fun and exciting. And you got everybody talking trash, but it's all love and respect. Okay, so waiver wire queen wasn't trying to talk trash throughout the season, but some of these Bills Mafia fans were talking trash to me, so I done fell right into the trap. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm with it. I have this 11-2 record. Ooh, I'm about to dominate in the playoffs. And I get in there, have that bye week. I'm like, yes, that's what you do when you draft a good team. You go 11-2. You get the bye week. Then you get to your game and you stink it up. Everybody stunk it up. It was horrible. I was like, oh my God, what the heck is going on here? And of course, everybody was talking trash. Oh, you 11-2. You lost. You didn't even make it to the championship game. Yes, my guys, they stunk it up. Mostly everyone stunk it up, and we were scoring almost high 180s, almost 200 plus a game, maybe even more than that. And then we barely hit 150 a point, fantasy points total as a team. And I was like, Lord have mercy. So I didn't win the championship. Hell, I didn't even make it to the championship. However, this was purposes of showing you a good format for drafting good team that's going to play well and dominate for the regular season and potentially get you through the postseason. The goal is obviously to win a championship. But what do you have to do to get to the championship? You have to win games. I was winning games. I had no stress like some of my other leagues. I was trying all these different methods, and I just could not win games. But I was dominating, and I was like, "Oh, waiver wire queen, dust your shoulders off because you winning out here in these fantasy sports streets." And guess what? Get into the playoffs after my bye week and lose. Now, if this is a league that it's a money league, obviously, and it's award they award you like say you have the best record in the league and you win prizes for that, there you go. You got prize right there. Yes. Shaking my head. I was like, really? This is what we do. Nonetheless, that was probably one of my best formats. Yes, there were issues along the lines where you figure Howard, Rita, and Chark, those three didn't pan out. However, Chark season prior to 2020 season, he had a really good season. I'm staying away from him because he let me down. I mean, yeah, injuries and then bad quarterback play, I'll say as well. So he may have a bounce back season. We'll see if I have him as one of my sleepers coming up in this year during the 2021 season. Okay, guys, let me know what you think. What was your best drafting strategy to dominating regular season? And what was your best strategy for drafting? And did that get you to the championship game? And ultimately, did you win your league? Remember, the goal is do your research and make sure you draft a good team. You got to win games and during the regular season to get to the playoffs. And once you get to the playoffs, the ultimate goal is to win the big game. That's the goal. Win the big game, but you got to have take these steps to get there. You're not going to just draft and then think you're jumping to the championship. No, you there are steps along the way. And as you can see, I made those little adjustments throughout where I had some injuries and I had to move some players out. I made the adjustment when I let Breida and Howard go, and I ended up with Gaskin. As you can see, I ended up picking him up on the wire. Hutchinson, he played well at times, and then it just didn't go well for the rest of the season. It was a solid regular season. So if you're looking for it to at least have a good regular season that's going to guarantee you playoff, that drafting strategy worked. Of course, make some little tweaks and see if you can get players outside of Howard or Breida, those players like that who have potential that you think is going to play well, and then they end up bombing. But if you do pick like that, how do you recover? You recover on the wire. And if you hit that like button, you get to see more videos from Waiver Wire Queen throughout the season, which is going to help you throughout the season in picking players up off of the wire and making solid trades, which will help your team throughout the season. All right, y'all, hit that subscribe button. Follow Waiver Wire Queen on Facebook, IG, and Twitter, and TikTok at Waiver Wire Queen. Peace.